slow to join this evening, so we're going to get started in about 3 minutes. So just bear with us for a few.
It looks like we have our friends from KMBC on here as well. Hello. Do we have a reporter with us, or who do we have joining us tonight? You guys can just be incognito then. Thanks for joining us. We love when media joins us. Great conversation among really good advisory team members in the district. So thanks for being here. Dr. Bedell and Courtney, just a quick announcement here. As I do see KMBC, one of the things we got some requests for today were talking about masking and COVID protocols. So that might be part of our presentation. I don't think so, Courtney, but just in case we have some questions, that might be something that they want to visit about at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I know we like to wait for people, but you guys, Courtney, you all know me. 6 o'clock is the time. Let's go, because if people not here, I don't think it's fair to hold everybody else up that's gotten here on time.
Fair enough. Thanks, Dr. Bedell.
Sure.
Well, good evening, and thank you all for joining us for the first District Advisory Committee meeting of the new year. We hope that you have enjoyed your time with your families and stayed healthy to the best of your ability. And we thank you for your time tonight. Before we get started, we want to make a quick announcement about being able to join this meeting or listen to this meeting in Spanish. So I'll turn it over to Jamie.
Buenas tardes. Si usted quiere escuchar la junta en español, allí abajito de la presentación en la pantalla se puede ver donde dice interpretación o interpretation. Es como un globito. Toques ahí, haz clic ahí y puedes escoger inglés o español. Si escoges español, se va a escuchar la interpretación. Hay una persona ahí interpretando todo lo que están diciendo hoy. También si tiene preguntas se puede ponerlos en el mensaje, o sea, para textear, mensajear, y se puede mandar a mí, a Jamie Evans Arreola, o también a una de las otras que está presentando. Gracias.
Thank you, Jamie. And before we get started, I failed to introduce myself. I am Courtney Adams. I'm the Family and Community Engagement Coordinator. As you've just seen from that slide that was on your screen, we do have Spanish interpretation going on simultaneously. So I will ask all the presenters and folks who have questions to please speak a little slower than normal to allow the interpreter an opportunity to be able to interpret with adequate time. So things might be, we might speak a little slower. I may slow you down if you're presenting or speaking. but we want to make sure that she has enough time to do that. Also, if you have any questions during the presentation, during any of the presentations or during the meeting at all, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll then go ahead and unmute you, or you can put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure that we monitor the chat and get all your questions answered. So without further ado, I don't know if Angie is on. I couldn't see. Angie, are you on?
I am on.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and welcome everybody. Bienvenidos. I am Angie Lyle, and I am the chair of the District Advisory Committee. I want to thank you all for joining tonight. I'm hoping that Courtney can put the link to our parent engagement survey.
Now we're talking about upper 40s and low 50s, 52 and over in Park 38.
Okay. Anyway,
a little weather report.
I guess so. I thought it was going to be really cold in the morning. There is a parent engagement survey that we are asking parents to fill out, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but maybe she can go ahead and get that link going for us. As we get started, I just want to welcome the marvelous Dr. Mark Bedell, our fearless leader, who's going to give us a little bit of an update. Many of you know the big news, but he's got a lot more to say about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bedell. Thank you.
All right. Well, Ms. Lau, thank you. And thank you for your leadership in leading us this year with the District Advisory Committee. We're hoping that over time we'll be able to increase parental involvement in this area to make sure that families are fully informed as to what's happening in the school district. We do have excellent news, and it's been plastered all over the media. And I know we're in the process of putting some billboards up to further promote that the school district, is fully accredited. And fully accredited for the first time in 22 years. We last were fully accredited in 2000. And that just means the world to me, because there's a lot of people who've worked in this school district for decades, who never wavered, who never gave up. There's a lot of parents who believed and continue to do the work that needed to be done to advocate on behalf of their children, while also advocating on behalf of the school district. We have board of directors, and you'll hear from Nate Hogan, who refused to accept no as an answer. And we know Nate Hogan was one of the board members that truly pushed some of our state board members around this issue. When we look at the data, and the data clearly supported that this school district should have been fully accredited back in 2019. They took a position of, we can't accept that, especially when we know that there are school districts in the state of Missouri that are fully accredited that we're outperforming. And so we felt that our community deserved this, and we have it. But as I've said to people over and over, you'll hear a little bit from Kelly a little bit later on Blueprint 2030. None of this is sustainable if we don't change practices significantly in this school district. If we don't take a look at what teaching and learning looks like, if we're not more culturally responsive to meeting the needs of a diverse population of students that we serve, a high population of immigrant students, and a high population of students who show up in poverty. If we don't take those lived experiences and make that become a part of what we do in this school district, at the end of the day, this is not sustainable. So it is going to require that we have to make some very difficult decisions over the next couple of months. We have to be very intentional. We have to get buy-in. We have to talk about, how do we make this school system win for all of our students? If this school district does what it needs to do, Kansas City becomes an even more attractive place for people to want to move in, businesses to move in. It becomes a city that can truly prosper. And we have that opportunity together to do that. The other update that I wanted to give to you all, just around COVID, is we made it very clear with our board last week that the school district's going to do everything in our power to stay open. Our teachers have been working extremely hard. They've been overextended. As you all have seen, many school districts are closing because they just don't have the bandwidth from a staffing standpoint. And we're not immune, or we're not exempt from what some of these other school districts are dealing with. I think the one thing that has been beautiful for our school district is we've remained vigilant with masking. From day one, when the kids came back to school, I want to say on March 15th of last year, we never wavered on masking. We've stayed consistent with it. And I think that is something that we feel is a big reason why we don't have the massive amount of students having to be in quarantine and the massive amount of teachers having to be in quarantine. We're going to be consistent. We're going to stick with that. We're going to adhere to the CDC guidelines. Instead of 10 days, they're telling us now that we can do 5 days of quarantine. We will follow that. But if you're pre-K parents, the CDC still recommends 10 days. We can't get around that. But for the kids that are kindergarten and up, 5 days of quarantine, and they should be able to come back. And we're just looking forward to doing everything that we can to keep kids in school. We took a hit when we went virtual all year long last year. Virtual works for some kids and some families. It does not work for the masses. I do not want to find ourselves having to be back in that scenario. And so we will close classes. We may close a school or two, but our goal is not to close the full school district. And what we ask out of you all as parents, you have friends that have children in our school system. Please tell them, do not send your child to school if your child is sick, right? If we do not want to impact the masses, everybody individually has to do their part. Keep your kid home and think about the greater good of the system. And when the kid gets better, let's get them back to school. We'll take hits on attendance rates. We just have to live with that. But I'd rather us not be in a situation where we're shutting down the school district like we did last year, because it's not your responsibility to also serve as a pedagogical expert. Many of you are professionals in other areas, not teaching, and that's our burden. We have to handle that because we're trained. So help us do that. And I think that's going to continue to be our position on this matter. And then, like I said, finally, we're excited about Blueprint 2030. You'll hear more about that. We're going to give a robust update to the board of directors on the 26th on our academic visioning and our communication plan, our engagement plan for the remainder of Blueprint 2030 as we get ready to move into that scenario stage of planning. So I just want to thank everybody who's here. And at this time, I think I'll pass it over, unless there's some questions, I'll pass it over to Nate Hogan, our board chair, who's next on the agenda.
I just wanted to chime in and let people know that Dr. Bedell will be honored by the City Council on Thursday's legislative meeting, which is at 3:00 on Thursday. You don't have to go to City Hall. You can watch it right on their YouTube channel or on Channel 2. And so I would encourage that everyone chime in and watch that if they can.
Wow, thank you. And I know it's been a long day. I'm going to hear Mr. Hogan and I'll end up checking out so I can get some food. But thank you.
Yeah, we have an early start in the morning.
I started this morning 7:15. Had to drop Cam off and been going at it since.
Thank you. And I'll let Nate go ahead and come on up.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Lyle. So yeah, what I've learned about Dr. Bedell is you don't get in the way or in the middle of him and his food. You just, that's a man who appreciates a meal, and I have all respect for that. So, Dr. Bedell kind of said it all, but I'll just reiterate a couple of points. So Dr. Bedell, I know I said it last week. I've said it probably a couple of times. Thank you to you and your team for just pouring yourselves into our kids, our staff in this community. Look, I did a little bit of pushing on my end to the extent that I could around accreditation, but at the end of the day, if the results don't help us get there, then we just don't get there, right? It has to start with you guys delivering results. And when I say you guys, I mean you, your team, our parents, and ultimately our students stepping up and doing what they need to do to get those academic results where they need to be. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm still excited about it. I love the fact that we're finally here after 20 plus years, and just so grateful for everyone who continues to pour themselves into this district. I want to, obviously thank the DAC folks here as well, and all of our parents who, continue to stay engaged and really prop this district up, but also challenge us to be better. I think it takes everyone, all stakeholders, to continue to challenge us, and challenging us isn't always fun for the people on our side, if you will, but it needs to happen. And as long as it's done in a constructive and thoughtful manner, we'll continue to hear those challenges and continue to get better. But I also want to reiterate something I said last week is, For too long, this community has underestimated and undervalued our students, right? Our students have the same potential as every other student around them. We just need to support them in the best ways possible. And we shouldn't be measuring our kids just based on a single moment in time on a standardized test. Look, I know that's what the state does today. I know it's what the state will continue to do if we don't challenge the state to think about education in a much more different way. Our kids' potential needs to be redefined in a much more thoughtful way, particularly in an urban setting where our kids are coming to school with all sorts of things that we've got to support them on. Speaking of parent engagement, so we have an opportunity to get more engaged starting on January 26th. You'll hear from Dr. Bedell and his team around the academic vision for the district going forward. You heard some of that from Dr. Collier at the press conference last week, if you're able to dial into that or show up in person. But you'll hear it again on the 26th. And we'll also hear about how the district plans to really get more robust engagement across all stakeholders on the 26th. So I would encourage everyone to tune in for that conversation. It's really the only two big things that are going to be on that agenda for the night. And so we hope to have a really robust back and forth with Dr. Bedell and his team on those two very important topics. And with that being said, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Lyle.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it when our board shows up and engages with our community. It really goes a long way with making sure that we all remain connected and that we have this vested interest in making our schools great. So I really appreciate you and all the time that the board of directors have been taking this year to come to our meetings.
Wow, okay. Looks like somebody raised their hand.
Do have a hand up, yep.
I have the hand up. I'm sorry. Okay. My name is Akila Alford. I am a parent at AC Prep. And I have like a two-part kind of question because I know we're doing the mask and all that. And I know you want us to keep kids at home. But where we have signature schools that have an attendance policy, how does that work?
Yeah, so to answer your first part of the question, it doesn't impact the attendance policy. Remember, if a kid is out, as long as you turn in an excuse, like you've kept the kid home and you're saying, hey, my child was sick, like those policies are in essence, and I'll get with our team. That's a great question. We will operate like we've done in the past year where we kind of hold harmless families that may have experienced difficulties because of COVID-19. We did that last year. We will do that again this year, given the volatility. So I don't want parents to worry about, I didn't meet the attendance requirements and now I'm going to be dismissed from the program. Our principals are very aware of the volatility and we're all operating with grace. And what we have said was, if a kid is out because of COVID, they're marked with a Q. And then when they get their work done and they take care of those things, then it ultimately is turned into a present. And so that means we would have to go back and retro that. But I think those are kids that we definitely know are out because of COVID reasons. But parents keeping kids out just because, you're being proactive, they may have a cold, they may be sick, and you just don't want to take any chances. Where in the past, we might have sent a kid home to school. Because that's just what we did. We're gonna apply and hold harmless model on that, and I'll make sure that that's a great question that I share with my cabinet.
Okay, because I'm one of them moms. Like my baby he has horrible seasonal allergies and all that, and if it gets too bad, I'm like, I'd rather you not go because you sound horrible, And then my other question is, are we going to have any more vaccination, what's the word I'm looking for, fairs or whatever? Because yes. I know there's one just passed and there's another one at Truth coming up. So.
Yep, we will have a number of those throughout the district. We're working with the Children's Mercy. We're working with Truth, not Truth, the new hospital now.
University Health.
We're working with University Health. There is a model that we right now view may be one of the best models in the school district at Carver Elementary. So we're looking to try to replicate what they've done at Carver Elementary. We believe that they have well over 80% of their kids vaccinated, the families of those kids. And that is a model that we are getting ready to replicate across the school district through Lauren Grimes, our nurse director of nursing, and Sarah Williams, who's our COVID compliance officer. So stand by. You're going to hear a lot more on that. And I know that they will continuously put dates up on our COVID response site on the district site. So all you have to do is go there and we'll get more information to you. And then I'll work with them to make sure that we can figure out how we can message our families and let them know we're going to be having these various drives at these locations. We will be doing that throughout the semester.
Thank you.
Thank you. We had a question from Ms. Wilson.
My question is, I'm a parent of a child that goes to King Elementary, and I'm also a bus monitor for the Kansas City School District. And my question is, how do we keep the kids entering the bus, keeping them face masks on? Because every day we constantly have to keep passing out face masks to students that ride the bus. And I know we're not allowed to keep them from riding the school bus. But our concern is that they constantly try to ride the bus without face masks. And I know they're supposed to ride the bus with face masks and in the school with the face mask. But how are we supposed to keep them without trying to turn them away and not allow them to ride the bus?
You don't have to worry about that. I think the big thing you all need to do is talk to the building principal. We have more than enough masks and we have quality masks. And our goal is to make sure that kids have masks when they get on the bus, to make sure that they have masks when they get into the school. In fact,
but the thing is, when they get on the bus, they take them out, throw them on the floor on the bus before they get off.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the conversation that has to be held with the building principal and then the principal needs to address that with parents. I mean, that's really the level of recourse that we have in that matter.
Right, because I know we're not allowed to force them. Well, also we're not allowed to force them, but majority of the bus drivers has a concern about if they do not come to the bus stop with their mask and get on the bus, they can't ride the bus. But we're not allowed to keep them from trying to ride the school bus in the morning.
Yeah,
we're trying to keep ourselves safe too, but how are we supposed to do that if they don't want to enter the bus with the face mask?
Yeah, I think the building principal needs to know who the kids are. I'm a former principal. I didn't tolerate, behavior issues on the bus. But I think if parents don't know that this is happening, they can't do anything about it. So we have to make sure that the building principal know who those students are. And we need to make sure that that's being addressed with parents. I mean, I'm a parent in this district. My bus driver comes and tells me that my daughter's not wearing her mask. Yeah, it's going to be some problems. It's about accountability, but we have to know.
Okay. And then the next question is, do you know if y'all plan to trying to close the school Thursday due to the weather? Well, I know the news was talking about that this morning.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now. That's not the plan. And when I came in today, it was on my mind that we probably need to look to close schools. But I've talked to a number of other superintendents and even charter leaders. At this point, it's a no. What we thought was going to be -10 to -20, that has changed already. It will be cold, but it has changed and it's not going to be that severe. We have a policy that triggers once it's -10 or more, where we do have to close schools. And so at this point, we're going to monitor. Our goal is to let people know. I told my team it'll be best that we let people know before 9 o'clock that night if we're going to call school. But right now, based on what we're looking at in our conversation, we're go for Thursday at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Dr. Bedell, or Nate Hogan? I think we're ready to move on to our next guest.
All right. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you so much. Who's up next, Courtney? I don't have my.
It's Raquel and Kale from University.
Okay, Raquel and Kale.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. So I'm Raquel Garcia, and I'm the Community Health Education Nurse for University Hospital, which is formerly Truman Medical Center. And joining me is our Project Manager, Kale Martin, and our Senior Director, Hayat Abdullahi. First, congratulations on behalf of University Health and all the accomplishments. We mirror all of the congrats. You guys did such a hard job, and we're just so happy for you all and so glad that you're our neighbor. And so we're here tonight, as you all know. Our numbers are getting out of control as far as COVID cases with this new variant. And it's a big concern, not only for adults and our hospitals, but for our children too. And I do hope that everyone has heard that vaccines have been approved for ages 5 and up now. So our goal tonight here in this meeting, we're so glad that you guys had us out, but we're wanting feedback. That's what we're here for tonight. And so Kale is going to be putting up an email address in the chat room so that you all can address us in email, because we don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. But we really honestly just want to hear from you parents, from you staff members, from teachers, any feedback that we can get. So as we know, vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective. Our ER doctors at University Health, they constantly repeat themselves in saying those that are unvaccinated are 6 times more likely to spread this virus than those that are vaccinated. And our goal is to get as many of our children vaccinated as we can, but we need your help in order to do that. And so we have realized that there are some barriers that are keeping from our families from coming out and getting that vaccine, but we also want to hear what barriers you all have heard that our families are facing. What's keeping our community family members from bringing their children out? We can only do so much. We need you all to help us in addressing those issues. If you can please just send us messages on what educational pieces you feel that our families need in order to help make them better understand the safety of vaccines or the need for a vaccine, so we can tackle that topic by topic. We will be tomorrow starting our plan and addressing all children getting vaccinated by going school to school in this district and making sure that we are meeting with all of the school faculty and teachers so that way we can reach out to all the families. But starting tomorrow as well, we will be in the community. We're in the community every single week doing community vaccines. We don't do anything in the hospital. Our team is solely focused on being out in the community. So every Wednesday we are at Morning Star Baptist Church, which is on 27th and Prospect. And we have extended those hours to accommodate families. So we are there every Wednesday from 1 to 5 until we're not needed. And tomorrow, first day, we will be offering $100 incentives for the first 30 families that come out and get their first vaccine. And that's for children 12 years of age and up. Those children that are 5 to 11 will go to the hospital so they can get that vaccine with the pediatrician nearby. But tomorrow we will be starting our plan to get as many children as we can. But if you all will help us make sure that our kids in our neighborhoods are getting the same opportunities as every other district and every other neighborhood, we want them to be able to have all the opportunities as anyone else. So if you could give us any feedback, we would really, really appreciate it and help us educate and tackle those myths and the lies and all the false news that's out there. We want to tackle it piece by piece. So if you can just reach out to us by the email that Kale provided, we would greatly appreciate it. And any questions as well, we would love to speak with you all, even if it's by phone. Kale, anything else to add?
No, Raquel, I think you covered it. Congrats again. Thank you very much. I included my contact information in the comments section, so please email anytime. Let us know. We're here to support you all. We know how challenging it can be just to be a teacher and faculty when it's just regular school environment. You throw a pandemic in there, we know how challenging and stressful it is for everyone. So we just want to be that additional support for you all. Congrats. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate all of our community partners, and especially in the health sector. Anybody have questions about what was just discussed with vaccinations? Okay, we're going to move on, I believe, to Christy Yamaoka. I hope I said that right.
You got it. Thanks, Angie.
Okay, thank you for coming on and giving us your information. We have some great stuff to hear from you.
Awesome. Glad to be here. Thank you. So I'm going to try to move quickly through this and really just kind of give the brief overview of PCA. But before we get started, I just wanted to kick it off with a little overview video on the next slide, Courtney, and then we'll jump in.
Okay, I am pushing play, so just give it, I did test it earlier, so give me a minute. Sorry.
The most important thing that kids and people want from us is that we care about them as a person, and to teach them that you do not have your self-worth connected to your skill level in something. They're two separate issues. You're a beautiful human being, you're fantastic, and that's it, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're ranked, number 250,000 in the world or number 1, that does not matter.
Yes, there are expectations. Yes, there are great demands. But yes, we realize you're a human being.
A lot of times what they need is love and just the positive reinforcement.
This is something we all are in together as a family.
If you can be positive about what they're doing out there, they will listen.
I can get far more out of my players if I'm doing it with a smile on my face, with energy in my voice. I'm being clear in what I want from them, and I'm letting them know that I believe in them.
Being positive on a daily basis, you have a choice. You make a choice of, the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. You make a choice of bringing negative or positive to a meeting, to a relationship, to a basketball court, or to you.
PCA is one of the greatest organizations that I've ever been affiliated with.
I think having fun creates good team chemistry.
I get a better response, better effort.
We're going to be in their corner. We're going to be supportive.
Because I am demonstrating through my positivity, my joy, my excitement, that I believe in them.
It is crucial for coaches to send that message.
Every moment is a teaching moment.
You can help a child or a person believe in themselves. It's everything.
Awesome. Thanks, Courtney. And so, yeah, that video just kind of does a great job overviewing who we are and what we're all about. You can see our mission statement here, but really at PCA, we believe that at the youth sports, youth and high school level, that sports should be an extension of the classroom where kids are not just focusing on winning and performance and competing. That's great. And that's a part of positive coaching. But really as an extension of the classroom, focusing on transferable life skills that kids are going to take on with them well on beyond high school. And even if they play at the highest level, these are skills that are going to benefit them in classroom and career and relationships. And so we use sports as the vehicle to teach these skills, but we really are kind of taking from the top research in terms of human behavior and child development and all of that. And so I'll just say really briefly, this work is deeply personal to me. I started off my career actually working in foster care and social services and came back to combine that with working with sports just because I saw the impact that it can have, particularly in underserved communities and in young men of color, according to a new research study that just came out. Aside from all other after-school programming, sports and athletics are the best place for kids to learn and to retain social emotional learning skills. But we can only do that if it's intentional and if the adults in the room have the training to create that sort of environment. And so that's what PCA does when we partner with schools and organizations across the country. We can move to the next slide. And so we, like I said, we work all over the country. We are now a national nonprofit. We started out of Stanford University 24 years ago now. And so everything we do, like I said, is research-based. But we've gone on to impact almost 20 million kids now across the country. We work with all kinds of school districts and individual schools, but we are currently partnered with 8 out of 10 of the largest districts in the country. Again, just for that kind of recognition of how sports and how athletics should really be a vehicle for teaching social emotional skills and preparing kids for competition in life. And so we can go on to the next slide. But the way that we do this is through providing our training and our content. And so our content is all advised from a world-class national advisory board that we work with. And so you'll have seen some of those folks in the video that we showed, but also some familiar faces here. But there's a list of 50 plus of the top coaches and the top athletes of our time that know how to win at the highest level, but know how to do it the right way. But then also on the academic side, some of the top thought leaders. So you'll see there Carol Dweck, she's the leading researcher on teaching a growth mindset for kids. And again, sports speak to kids in a language that they understand in terms of learning how to focus on the controllables, learning how to come back from mistakes and understand that mistakes are okay. I always say I'm a recovering fixed mindset person where I thought everything had to be perfect and I couldn't make any mistakes. And this translates to the classroom as well, as I'm sure many of you know, but sports are an area where kids can learn these skills and then apply those outside of sports. And so we work with, like I said, some of the largest national governing bodies, but then also some of the largest districts in the country doing this work. Next slide. And so just kind of getting into the why of why we do this and some of the benefits of youth sports. So again, I'm not going to dive too deep into the research, but we just know that kids that are active and kids that participate in sports at a young age, it's going to be a predictor for success later on in life. Again, with my kind of social services background, I think if you think, okay, kids that aren't in sports, there's a lot of other opportunities, but for a lot of kids, sports are and should be, if they're participating, the most fun part of their day. But as coaches and as parents, oftentimes we can get in the way of that. And I'll talk about it in a second, but this can lead to kids dropping out of sports and losing out on all of these benefits: lower substance abuse rates, lower teen pregnancy, later on in life, higher academic and earning achievements, and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that kids are having a positive experience so that they can benefit from all these factors in sport. Again, I'm not going to get into the reasons why they quit, but as a general sense, there's a study of 82 different reasons, but we know the number one reason that kids quit sports is that they're just not having fun anymore. And oftentimes that's a result of a culture that is negative, whether that means, there's too much emphasis on winning. A lot of times the role that parents can have on kids and getting that role confused with whether they're the parent or the coach, it can all contribute to a negative experience for kids. But we know that if they have that experience to be part of a positive team, meaning a positive coach and a positive environment, that again, they'll stay in sports longer. And it's not so much about the winning or the losing, but they'll have those opportunities to develop and learn teamwork, to learn things like how to have empathy for others, leadership skills, and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that kids are staying in sports. And so how do we do this at PCA? Again, we take a social emotional learning framework. We've been doing this for the past 23 years. But at the youth level, giving and teaching kids skills like growth mindset, resilience, and teamwork helps their character go up. And as you all know, we all work on teams. Our motto is that life is a team sport. And so again, we'll use sports as a vehicle, but in terms of coaches, it's giving them the tools and the resources to connect the dots of the life lessons that kids learn. Whether you win or lose, there's always something to learn. And so when kids feel like they're developing and learning, they can take that on to the next step of life for them. And then, so just kind of as a spectrum here, we know that a negative youth sports culture is one that's, I'm sure you've seen it. We don't have to look far to see negative environments for kids, whether that's parents screaming at kids or screaming at the referees. coaches screaming at the referees or their athletes. But at PCA, we want to cultivate what we call a development zone. And so that's where we understand kind of the sports psychology behind it, but also that we're really preparing kids for competition in the classroom and for life. And so I'm not going to go into this slide too much, but like I said, everything we do is research-based. And so we also have the research of the last 20 plus years of why this works. And so we have direct feedback from coaches and parents that have gone through our clinics and how useful they found the tools. And so you can see some of the data there, but just wanted to say that we're tracking this and we're seeing the effectiveness. It's not just coming to a training, but it's following that up with tools and resources to reinforce the content from the workshops. And so I know that we're kind of short on time, so I'm just going to really quickly breeze through this part. But really, when it comes to partnerships, the way we do this is through a comprehensive approach. And so we do training for basically 4 different stakeholders that contribute to the culture. And so that's leadership and administration, athletic directors, and so on and so forth, coaches, parents, and athletes. And that gets everybody on the same page about what the expectations of participation are. And then also speaking the same language. So for instance, one of our main principles is the concept of filling emotional tanks. And we know that this year, kids' emotional tanks are drained. They're drained from the pandemic. They're drained from the whole list of things. But that directly impacts their mental health as well. And so we know that if we're talking about filling emotional tanks, whether you're a coach, a teammate, or a parent, everybody's going to know what that means and know that that's one of the goals of what we're trying to do in these experiences. And that also kids perform better when their tanks are full. And so we do this through a comprehensive approach. We do training via live in-person workshops, and then we also have online courses that we supplement that training with. And then on the next slide, it's really what happens all throughout the rest of the year that makes the difference. And so we have a number of tools and resources that just kind of reinforce that content and some of that language. And then also, again, we are the Positive Coaching Alliance, and we know that there are so many adults out there making huge impacts on these kids. And so we want to learn from them, bring them in, and also honor them. And so throughout the year, we have all sorts of ways that we've found in terms of organizational best practices in order to develop the best culture possible. And so it's not coming in and saying anybody's doing anything wrong. It's just saying, hey, here's where we're at, and here's how the latest research can show how we can improve that. And so again, this slide we can kind of pass on, but essentially it's a full partnership where we have a team of folks, including our trainers, myself, a program manager, that work on implementation to really make sure that, again, that kids are participating in sports, are having the best possible experience and taking those transferable life skills on into the classroom and beyond. So I'll pause there for any questions.
This has been really a very informative presentation, and I would ask Steve to maybe come up and interact a little bit, or maybe lead into athletics from his point of view, since he's on the committee for athletics.
Yeah, I've talked with Christy. I think that it's been 2 years now. We've been having this discussion back and forth, and DAC has tried to promote PCA to bring that to the school district. I attended one of their events that they let me know about that was up it was either North Kansas City School District or the Liberty School District, and it was just a really neat deal. I wrote down, I take a little log with me and I write down notes, and I just wrote down all sorts of things, little sayings and little ways that they try and get people to frame and think about sports and how they're coaching kids and stuff. These were all coaches that were in this one. And it just really impressed me. And I could see that they have this large network and they have the experience with other school districts. And so if we could even, try this on a limited basis in the school district and then build on that. I hope we go forward with this. And I just see, as she was saying, I mean, the fact, I just think that all kids want to play when they're young. And they do eventually sometimes seem, maybe due to skills or health or whatever, they may decide to eventually drop out. But wouldn't it be neat if we could keep more and more of them active and playing some sports? And in Kansas City Public Schools, we're thinking about this 2030 plan. So I just think it's a great opportunity when you talk about sports and athletics, it doesn't have to be Missouri guided programs. Think table tennis, think badminton, think Olympic sports, think other things that maybe the kids aren't, able to compete and play in football or basketball, but there are lots of sports out there that they can keep playing and keep participating in. And we could even try and move Misha towards getting those other sports to be registered Missouri programs. But I'm just real supportive of trying to bring PCA into the school district, and I hope some of you listening out there will lend your support to that.
And there was a question in the chat. I don't know if Christy saw that.
Yep, I did. So yeah, we've implemented, especially when it comes to large school districts. So I also manage our partnership with Chicago Public Schools, Miami Public Schools, and Minneapolis Public Schools. And so some of the largest districts in the country, but we've implemented a lot of different ways. So we kind of customize to fit the needs of the district. And I've seen it done as a pilot program. I've also seen schools jump straight in. And so I think if there's interest, then kind of the next step is to set up a call to really kind of do a needs assessment and then see. We also have funding where we can help with some of the largest school districts. So just like to throw that out there. I know that can be a concern, but certainly I think any school can look at their school cultures and see that athletics and the student athletes, naturally, they're just part of the leadership. They really contribute to the school culture in a big way. And so we want to make sure that's intentional and inclusive for all kids.
And there was another question, Christy, how can we participate as parents in the workshops?
Yeah, so we have workshops specifically for parents, really knowing that the role of a parent is very different than that of a coach, but it is the most important. And I'll just throw out a quick stat. There was a survey of college student athletes, and they were surveyed on their favorite parts and least favorite parts of their youth sports experience. And the overwhelming number one response was that the car ride home was the worst part of their sports experience, which is just heartbreaking. And the thing is that it's not intentional. I don't think any parent or coach means to have that impact. It's just that lack of education sometimes. And so providing those resources, what do I say after a tough game? What do I say to my kid after this? That's open to all parents through our partnerships. And those are really impactful workshops. And I thought, what's the cost associated? So the cost is just going to depend on the scope of programming that we do. And so I say that because I have some districts that are doing 100 workshops a year, meaning workshops for coaches, parents, athletes, administrators. And some districts are doing 10 or 20. So it just kind of depends on the scope of programming. And again, we do have some funding in place to help supplement that as well, especially our push right now is to make sure that, especially in underserved communities, that they have access to these resources. And so I've done some of the research on Kansas City, and there would be some qualification there as well to help with that funding.
I definitely think it's worth pursuing. Any other questions?
I just say hoorah.
Yeah, Christy, thank you so much for this presentation. Again, I really hope that we can bring some level of this to KCPS.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And Steve has my contact information, and I'll drop it in the chat here, but anybody's welcome to reach out as well. So
thanks.
Thanks, Christy.
Next up, we have Kelly, the fabulous Kelly, our Chief Marketing Communications Officer, who's going to talk about Blueprint 2030.
All right. Hey, team. Thanks for waiting out till the last 10 minutes of the meeting. Chrissy, that was awesome. I love that presentation, and to all the folks in the chat, tennis, badminton, I think you said ping pong, or is it table tennis, Steve, as the appropriate nomenclature? We have lots of students, particularly in our Blueprint feedback, that really want those extracurriculars, the athletic opportunities that they might not have currently. So I think this really fits in with where we're headed for our next 5 and 10-year plan. So Courtney, next slide. This is just a quick 5-minute update, team, for the DAC about where we are currently with Blueprint 2030 and where we're going. So one of the quick things that I wanted you guys to be aware of is we're in this in-between phase from goal setting to scenarios. As you know, you're all waiting for scenarios. What are our schools going to look like? What is the makeup of our schools? How many schools? What programs where? And we're really getting our consultant on board to get those scenarios kind of lined out. We're looking at maybe it's 3 scenarios, maybe it's 5 scenarios, but we want the community to weigh in on what our schools are going to look like. And as we've done the goal setting, you've talked about academic needs, extracurricular needs, programming needs. We have a really good, robust feedback loop happening on those needs. And now it's how do we implement that in our schools to be really efficient for our kids and for our community. So we really want to make sure that in this in-between phase between goal setting and scenarios that your voice is still heard if you haven't participated yet. So we're currently working on community conversations. We have about 70 plus organizations that we're personally having conversations with about where we are in Blueprint 2030. So with the announcement of full accreditation, we're talking about academics, like I said, academics, extracurricular programming, all of the collaboration pieces that need to happen for KCPS. So this slide just asks, do you have any events that you want us to join to talk about where we are with Blueprint 2030? Do you have any partners, organizations, parent groups that you want us to join to talk about Blueprint 2030? We can do virtual, we can do in person. We're currently doing school advisory committees and student advisory committees. But as we present to the board next Wednesday, we have tens of thousands of feedback touch points so far in that goal setting process. Now we're just waiting to get to those scenarios where we can really hear some meaty feedback about the future of how many schools, where they are, and what that programming and academics looks like for our schools. So this slide just really just says if you have places that you want us to join, let us know. And then just really quickly, guys, as another kind of piece of this process, we have all of our engagement opportunities shared here on our Blueprint website. And if you want us to join any of those organizations, partner meetings, you can go here to our website and request an appearance or request a conversation, and we're happy to accommodate those. So really quickly, just thanks again. DAC's been an integral part of how we've had this conversation with our community. As we get into March, as we launch those scenarios, you as parents and partners are going to be really important for how we present to the board, how we approach the board, how we approach the community with what we want to do for the future. And I see you guys as helping us present, helping us talk about where we've come and where we're going, and just appreciate your partnership as parents and advocates for the district. So Angie, that's really it. Just a quick update. We're in this kind of period between goal setting and scenarios, and getting ready to talk about scenarios in the next 2 months.
Thank you. Kelly, my question is around the deadline for those community engagement meetings where you would need to know in order to have time to get in there before that feedback is due.
Great question, Angie.
Our meeting is like in March, I think. So is that too late, or how late?
We'll still do March. So these have been really sprinkled throughout the process, but our really intent kind of December, January, February meetings are happening right now. We have these 3 months blocked off for those personal conversations. We will never turn down a conversation in March if you have another organization that you want us to come visit. So happy to do so. But if we can get in there January, February, early March, that's where our really target dates are. And as we were talking in cabinet today, if we can get to those scenarios kind of mid to end of March, 1st of April, that's really our target goal right now in order to make a recommendation to the board in that May timeframe.
Okay, great. And I'm a parent at Lincoln College Prep, and we have our SAC meeting every month, and we are having you out to our next SAC meeting. So for parents who are on this call who want to have Blueprint 2030 come to your school, it makes it super easy for all that feedback, and it's school related. It's a great engagement for your school. So do get in touch with Kelly or Courtney and make that happen for your school if you can.
Yeah, good point, Angie. We're doing Central tonight as well. So we have Central, we have Paseo. What do we have? Did we have Paseo last week, Courtney? Anyway, we've been scheduling these school advisory committees. So we have a double duty happening tonight with Central and the whole DAC. So yes, we were happy to come and we want to come talk to each school. You bet it. You bet.
It's the marvelous world of virtual.
Mm-hmm.
All right, King Elementary. We should put that on the list too. Ms. Wilson, we can make that happen.
Yes, Ms. Wilson, send me an email if you would, and Ms. Scott. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great way to give feedback to the school. Does anybody else have any questions for Kelly about Blueprint 2030 before I think high school?
Yeah, I think that was Aquila. Yes, Aquila High School. Like I said, we're at Central tonight. We've been at Paseo. We're happy to go to any of the high schools and get those scheduled for those conversations, particularly as we look at what efficiency looks like for our high schools in KCPS. Those high school parents, students, and staff members are really important to this Blueprint conversation. We currently have 6 high schools for about 1,400 kids. And so we're looking at peer districts like your Independences, your Blue Springs, who maybe have 2 or 3 high schools for the same number of students that we serve in Kansas City Public Schools. So it's a big conversation, and our high school parents are really integral to that conversation. So yes, Aquila, please let us come visit with your high school conversations. I know you said AC prep, but whatever you need, we'll accommodate.
Excellent. Okay, we were going to give some brief committee updates, but I think we're out of time. These are not major things. Many of us are going to be getting on a bus bright and early at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to Jeff City to advocate for our public school with the lawmakers there. And that is, I will come back and tell you all about it. So that bus leaves at 6. And then we've got an Equity and Equality Committee meeting that I'll be attending next week. And we'll have some, I don't think, Steve, did you want to add anything before we go? Or Dion? I don't know if I didn't see Dion on the call, but I thought he was going to be here.
No, I had a short presentation going, but currently I don't have a meeting scheduled. We haven't had very much success so far, and so I'm looking into alternative ways, maybe using polling to meet with people. But anybody that's interested in STEM and academics, I'm in charge of that subcommittee. Just get in touch with me, and I'll put you on the list, and we'll get going. And then I just wanted to say one more thing, that I'm also helping with the DAC's Athletics and Activities Committee. And I see a lot of people asking about other sports, and particularly tennis. I'm directly involved with the tennis programs we're trying to get going here. And I have a United States Tennis Association, USTA, contact person, and there's all sorts of funding available to help schools get a tennis program going, whether it's at a PE level or whether it's a team level.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get that started at the school level. If you don't already have a program there, get in touch with Steve and get involved with our DAC so we can help get it going for you at your school. And Dion is on the line to give just a brief update too. I think they're trying to get him unmuted.
Yeah, just following up on what you said about the government relations. I know we also talked about coming up with a bill that's going to be helping with the impact of teacher pay. So that will be in the work as well. And then just keeping everybody in the loop that, we're still reviewing and discussing projects that are coming up that will have impacts on the Kansas City Public School District. I know I mentioned, talking about community benefit agreements with these developers. And one of the newer projects is the one off of 5th and Main, going through Port KC. So and we'll continue to monitor those projects and bring updates accordingly. And check the, I believe it's called is the TIF incentive, or excuse me, the tax incentive. If y'all go to the KCPS website and Google tax incentives, there's a link there that should give you updates as far as what's going on with the with the tax incentives and how it may be having impacts on our school district. So, and then at athletics, me and Steve, we were invited to the last one in November. I want to say it was November the 30th. Looking forward to continue to engage with the athletic director and its members. But pretty much they talked about general discussion as it related to district athletics and activities and some plans that they are planning for, the fall sports that we're currently in and going into our spring sports and plans moving forward as it pertains to, hiring of coaches and just the overall plan and initiatives that they're having throughout the district. So me and Steve, we're going to continue to work throughout that process with them and hopefully with today's presentation, initiate some of those great things that we heard today. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And I am putting the link back in the thread here for, if I can figure out how to do it to everyone, for the parent engagement survey. Oh wait, that's tax incentives. I didn't get the parent engagement survey link copied. Here it is. Sorry, there's too many chats. I'm glad that we have so many people online. This is great. There it is. No, it didn't work. Help me.
It's in there. I see it.
Yeah, it's at the top, or the link is actually in this presentation. So if we get the presentation out to everyone, they'll have the link that way. That just gives us an idea of who all is here with parent organizations at their school and who wants a parent organization at their school. We're all parents and community leaders, and we need as many parent organizations represented from all the schools as possible if we're going to get our goal of making equitable schools for all. So that's my spiel for the DAC. I don't think we have anything else.
One last thing I was going to add too, the athletic department has a IL newsletter. I put in the chat the email to Kevin Baird, who is the individual who emails that out. And so you have to be on the email list to receive that. So if you want to know what's going on within the school district, the IL, email Kevin, have him add you to the newsletter distro list, and you will get that information. Hopefully we can get that uploaded to the district website as well. But for right now, that's the way that you can get that information.
Thank you. Great, thank you. And thank you to our interpreter this evening. Thank you so much to the staff that worked tirelessly to help these things be successful. We really appreciate you. Courtney, talking to you.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Looks like our next DAT meeting is March 16th at 6 p.m. So
we'll
Thank
see
you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.